with poker, you're only seeing the highlights of people making sick bluffs or people stacking people, and people are like super obsessed with that, but they don't have a good pre-flop strategy. They don't have any good foundation for how to even get there. They just want to get there.
I'ma give it all I got, like grinding every day. Ain't no other way.
We're crushing it, right?
We're crushing it. Welcome back to Embrace the Grind. We got a special guest here. We got Nikki. Do I pronounce it Limo?
Yeah.
Nikki Limo in the house.
Hello.
She does a lot of podcasting, so I have a lot of questions for Nikki. She's new to the poker world, but do you have like a tagline when you start your podcast, like where everybody kind of knows that it's like, oh, this is a Nikki Limo podcast?
I wish I could say that I'm not good at branding.
Yeah, I start this podcast and I'm like, yo, welcome, we're here.
I say slap it high a lot on my vlogs. Like when something cool happens, I'm like, hell yeah, slap it high. We have Here for the Vibe, which I kind of matches.
That's like co-branding.
Yeah, co-branding here. That's our podcast's like, I guess, tagline. We're just like here for the vibe, here to shoot the shit, here to talk about stuff.
Nice. Well, welcome to the poker world.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Embrace the Grind podcast. You make a ton of content, right?
I do. I've slowed down as of late, kind of taking a gap year, but even in my gap year, it's not really that slow. But yeah, I've been on YouTube since 2000. Well, technically since 2007, but really since 2009, which is still a long time. And yeah, all the years blend together of all the content. There's probably hundreds of, maybe thousands of videos.
Do you remember your first upload?
Yes. Very cringe. Very, very cringe.
Were you like in still high school or?
No, I was embarrassingly 20. Yeah, I was 20. This was peak MySpace era.
Oh.
And it went viral on MySpace. I became a MySpace content creator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a video in which I was making brownies. So random. Okay, you got to understand, this was like the era of Sarah Silverman and Andy Milanaka's show, and I kind of like created a character that was similar to like their characters.
Tila Tequila was like the biggest.
Tila Tequila was really big at that time. Yes. And so, yeah, it was me making brownies. It was just a random video of me making brownies. And then I'm like singing Umbrella by Rihanna. And you know how she goes like, Ella, 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 I just kept singing that part, and it was like I couldn't stop singing that part, and then I was going crazy because I couldn't stop singing just the and it was the most annoying video ever, but it went viral.
So this is one of the first like things you remember uploading in terms of videos?
Yes.
And like that taste, what does viral mean? Like,
at that time, it got 800,000 views.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was a lot at that. Like if you imagine, that was the era of Lonely Girl 15.
Yes,
she was the biggest.
Her,
she was the biggest YouTuber. She had 91,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And so like that, like getting 800,000 views is like,
for sure.
That was like a lot.
Did you feel like you were hooked as soon as you like those views started piling in? You're like, oh, I got something here with my Ella.
Yes. Yes. I was like, I'm a genius comedy creator.
Yeah.
I actually was doing a lot of stand-up back
prior
then.
to that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, well, I guess I had just gotten into stand-up the way that I just got into poker now. Like, I feel like that was probably where I was in my stand-up career, where I had like been performing for like 7 months. Things were going well, but I wasn't like a name. Like no one knew who I was at all. And then this video went viral, and I was like, I'm starting to get like, I can use this as leverage to get people to watch my shows and like to kind of like promote myself to open for more comics, because like, hey, I have like an audience now, I have like a following. And that was like the beginning. Like being a YouTuber wasn't a thing yet. Being an influencer was like had a long way to go before it was a thing. So this was the first type of iteration of being like, I have people eyeballs watching me, and then I could be useful to you if you're useful to me, and let me perform at your show, and then I'll like promote it on my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in like the entertainment area, Southern California? Like was this always kind of a part of you?
Yes. I wanted to be an actor since 8 years old. I grew up in Santa Barbara, which is about an hour and a half north of LA. Okay. My whole family lived in LA, like extended family all lived in LA. And so saying you wanted to be an actor wasn't that crazy. because it was just right there. My grandma was a professional extra, so she was in a lot of TV shows. She was so stoked to like get me involved in like her extra work. And at that time, if you were a kid under the age of 12, you had to get a stamp of approval from your school saying that you had good enough grades that you could miss school to go do entertainment work. And so I was a straight A student, and they let me go, and like I was an extra on the movie called The Pest with John Leguizamo.
I don't remember.
That was
Oh, you know what? I actually think I do remember it. Yeah.
so.
Whatever happened to John
I don't know if you
Leguizamo?
could see me in the background, but I'm like 9 in the background playing basketball, and like we got to have lunch with John Leguizamo, and I was like so excited because he was Luigi in the Super Mario movie, and I love Super Mario. And
So you were your first taste of it was extra. Did you do like plays and things like that in school?
I did do a few plays. I did a lot of like dance recitals mostly, but I didn't really like theater that much. I really liked the camera. I was obsessed with back in the 90s, like we just had these huge handy cams, like they were really big, and not a lot of people had them because they were really expensive. But my grandpa had one, and he like let my mom borrow it to like record one of our like recitals or whatever. And I was actually like, I guess vlogging at the time. I was just like talking about my life, talking about like animals. So I guess that was kind of a foray into the future.
Yeah. Did you end up going to college or?
I did, and then I promptly dropped out.
Oh, okay.
So I had a scholarship to any California college that I wanted to go to, but I really wanted to pursue acting, so I wanted to stay close to home. Originally, I was going to go to U of H, University of Hawaii, so my parents got a condo over there, and I was going to do that, and then I changed my mind because I wanted to be close to LA. And then college was getting in the way of my auditions, and when I broke it down logically, I was like, well, technically college is supposed to be an investment to prepare you for your future career. Like that's the whole point, is you invest like X amount of money in the hopes of in your future career making it all back and then some. And so if my future career is to be an actor, why would I spend money on this? Like I'm not even studying acting. There's not even really good programs for acting here in college. If you wanted to do that, you should go to a conservatory. So then that's what I did, is that I dropped out to go full-time to like a conservatory program. But my parents did not see it that way.
Yeah.
They were not happy about it at all.
Yeah, I can imagine like 18, 19 years old, was your life a lot of it like studying acting or practicing acting and then going to like casting calls and things like that?
Yeah.
And that was a solid couple of years of doing that?
Yeah, and it was like not big things because you have to have an agent or a manager to go out for like big things. So this was like mostly, I was like leaving school to go audition for like a student film so I could build my reel. It was like the first steps to like getting, you need a reel in order to try to submit to an agent, to get an agent, but you have to do the work first. It was like kind of a catch-22 because you needed to build the resume in order to get the agent, but you needed the agent to build the resume.
Mm-hmm. And you never got the agent?
Well, I did eventually, but I had to kind of take that risk because I was telling my parents how it worked, because they're like, we don't understand. You're leaving to go audition for a film that won't pay you anything. It doesn't make sense. It's not even a big project. I was like, no, but this is similar to how like a photographer would build a portfolio. Like you have to prove that you can do it before people will want to take you on and like, you know, start promoting you and sending you out for bigger things. So I kind of just knew that that was the route I needed to take, was to prove myself first. And luckily during that time I had this audience with
So the Myspace is what kicked off the audience?
Yeah. And inevitably like what made me make the decision to take that leap of faith. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a sign. I felt like, hey, you only have this window basically of, you have this audience right now, you have some momentum. If you miss the window, and this is how I've always viewed opportunities in life, if you miss the window, who knows if you'll ever get that again. Yeah. So I took the window. I was like, I could always go back to college. You can always go back to college. I actually had till 30 years old to use that scholarship. So I was like, I can go back. If it doesn't work out, what do I lose?
What do you feel like was the first, like, what was the first thing that you kind of said, I'm going to do this once my Myspace blew up? Did you feel like there was like certain thing, like roles, or you went more into acting, then you switched to comedy? Like you were just trying to capture the attention in any way possible?
Yeah, I guess I mean, because that was kind of sketches, like short sketches. That was the video. I kept doing more videos as that character, as in like short little random sketches, like really weird, absurdist comedy.
Were you playing a character on MySpace?
Yeah,
or
on
were
MySpace.
Or were you Nikki Limo as we?
I mean, I was Nikki Limo, but it was the character Nikki, similar to like Sarah Silverman being like a character version of herself, like where she's like this dumb, like childlike version, and Andy Milonakis, same thing. So like, yeah, I was Nikki Limo, but I was like a child version of it, and so I had pigtails. Yeah, kind of. I was very like, just, it was like basically everything your inner child would want to do is like what this character did.
When MySpace went down, was that devastating for you?
A little bit, because it was like I have to rebuild, but I was already trying to get into the YouTube scene. I had no idea how these people like made partner, like made money. Like only like 100 people made money on YouTube at that time because the partnership program was so small. You had to apply for partnership. You had to get referrals and show URLs of you working with other YouTube partners. It was kind of like a really tight-knit club.
Yeah. And when you did go over to YouTube, the first kind of thing you did was sketches, or were you doing vlogs?
So I didn't have the equipment to do like the type of sketches that the people on YouTube were blowing up for. I wanted to, but I didn't have that. So I was doing a lot of stand-up and doing a lot of studying acting and auditioning while waitressing, because that's like how I was paying the bills. And I guess lucked out. Well, at first I got this commercial that paid $7,000. So I put 2,000 of it towards a year of acting school. And then the other, I was kind of like just using to reinvest in the career, like getting demo reels done and stuff. And I ended up getting picked to be like an actor in some YouTube video. And I only submitted because I liked the quality of their content. At the time, like nobody was using, only like really good channels were using like high quality equipment. People didn't have access to the cameras so easily like they do now. Yeah. So I needed that that footage for my reel because I was still trying to get an agent. So I was like, if I could just show like a really funny sketch in high quality, like TV style, cinematic quality, then I could put that on my reel. It would help me get an agent, even though I was working for free. And that channel ended up becoming one of the top comedy channels on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And I was a regular cast member on that. It was totally sketch. And they ended up becoming a co-founder of this company called Maker Studios, which was like a super channel of all the top comedy channels on YouTube at that time. There were like 20 top YouTube channels that came together, made this super channel company.
Wow.
And then they created this format that changed the whole YouTube space, which was MCNs. I'm sure you've heard of multi-channel networks. You haven't?
No, I feel like this is like classes in session right now.
Yeah. This is YouTube history, y'all. Okay, so this was back in 2010, 9-10. They created a super channel. It was called The Station, and that was like all their like one YouTube channel that united these like it was like
a college humor type.
Kind of, but instead of them being hired actors, they were like, they each had their own hugely successful channels. Like each of them had like over 100,000 subscribers, which at the time was like a crazy milestone to hit. And then they all joined forces like a Marvel comic and or like DC, I don't know, I don't really call it comics, but the DC universe, they all come together. And
it kind of reminds me of a content house now that it has
yes, this was like the original content house. So they like rented a studio, which was like YouTubers didn't have studios. They did everything in their house. And like, so it was like becoming more professional. And then they created a company, which then once it was successful, they started this model where they took on smaller YouTube channels for a cut of their revenue. So in exchange for us, like kind of promoting you, maybe we'll hook you up with people you could collaborate with. We take a cut of your YouTube revenue, like an agency for YouTubers. And that had never been done before.
Did you already kind of have your own content built up on your own channel?
I had like my MySpace content that I had put on my channel, but I hadn't really added new content for my YouTube channel yet. So what happened for me was ass backwards into the YouTube scene. I was an actor on these channels because they didn't have a lot of female actors back then. So I just got passed around on all these top 100 comedy channels, whether it was The Station, which was the combined channel or like each of their individual channels. And so people started being like, who's this chick that's in like everyone's channel? So they would promote my YouTube channel in their links. I just didn't have any content up. So I had 50,000 subscribers before having any content up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And then I had to figure out like what to put.
yeah. And the first thing that you put was like vlogs or
Yeah.
some sketches?
Yeah, vlogs. I was playing around with cooking stuff. I tried to do some sketches at home, but I really hated that it was low quality content. And then
And it's like you acting with yourself.
yeah, basically that was like the model back then. Try to do some like listicle top 5 content. I don't know. We were just kind of throwing mud at the wall to see what stuck. But people, the main thing is that all these YouTubers were like, you have to start putting up content. You have an audience, like you have to start building it. There was another side factor that my manager at the time threatened to sue me if I pursued YouTube, and then he inevitably did sue me for pursuing YouTube. So
Wow, this is a whole story.
there's a whole
I
extra
feel like
story.
I feel like we need to talk about
It was
this.
a lot of drama, but I did end up 2013, beginning 2013, January, YouTube Space opened up in Marina Del Rey or Playa Del Rey, where they built this huge.
I've been there.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Okay, so they built it in this airplane hangar,
Okay.
the old Howard Hughes airplane hangar.
Yes, it has like really tall like ceiling and
Yeah.
there's like these huge spaces with all these like
And all these like,
cameras. And
yeah,
stuff.
and so we were kind of the guinea pig group. You had to submit to be part of this, and at that time, I had just hit 100,000 subscribers, and like I was part of this up and coming group of YouTubers, and so they selected us because it was like we got something out of each other. Like we got to use all of their equipment and their editing space and kind of test it out. Let them know what flaws they had in their systems, and then in exchange, like we uploaded content that we created there, and it was like super high quality. We were using C100s, C300s, like
They have
crazy.
the best equipment.
Yeah, for free. And
Yeah.
I couldn't afford editing or equipment at that time. I was living in a studio apartment. I was on unemployment. I was not making any money. So I was using any resource that I could.
They have editing bays there as
They
well.
had editing bays, and at that time, nobody was using it because we were the first group. So I got all the one-on-one time with the editing staff that like knew everything about, and they have classes there too. You can sign up to like learn lighting and learn how to use cameras, and so it was like really cool that they were offering this for free. And because I knew all these top YouTubers, I wrote all these sketches, this sketch series called Audition Fail. And I had all of them be the guest stars, and I wrote them to be like the funniest characters. So they all like really wanted to do it, and they promoted the shit out of
This was on
the
your
series.
channel?
This was on my channel. This was like the first, I'd say like the first like thing I was happy to put out
Yeah.
on my channel.
And it was the first thing that got a lot of attention on you.
Yeah, I think so. On my own channel. Yeah.
Cool. We were talking about this actually when we were setting up. You know, got lights in here, cameras. As a poker player, content creation was kind of something that was just interesting to me. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, you know, like for you, you kind of always knew that you wanted to be in the creative space.
Yes.
But for me, it was like something that I figured out a lot later in life
Yeah.
based on like how much fun I was having. So, you know, but we were talking about this before, like I'm the cameraman, I'm the editor.
Yeah.
I'm the lighting
You're the lighting guy.
I'm the audio guy, you know? And so that's actually something that you had to do for yourself too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, has it gotten, so you know everything.
I do. I wouldn't say I'm like the best at everything, but I absolutely know like all the basics, so that I've had to hire people before, and then I can kind of tell them how to adjust to my style or what I would like based on the fact that I know how to give them notes.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you started going down this YouTube path of being a director, actor, writer.
Yeah.
And all the while, you know, the goal is to kind of break through in maybe an acting role. That's
Yeah, I mean,
something.
that's the thing, is that it wasn't just like being an influencer or a content creator was not like really a thing back then. Like it became a career that people aspired to. It's so weird because I ended up like doing panels at colleges to their social media classes that weren't a thing before. And so I feel like when you come up as like part of like the pioneering group, I didn't think of it as something cool. I thought it was like, And especially because my manager was trying to sue me over it because he thought that it was going to ruin my career because I wouldn't be taken seriously as an actor.
It was like something that you didn't really want to do.
No, it was like this side thing that was like, okay, well, I'll do this until, like it's cool that I get creative control over the things I'm putting out. But the goal was, to be on TV. That was, I wanted to be on a sitcom. Like that sitcom comedy was always like my favorite type of show to be on.
So you went down to LA, you were spending all your time in LA, obviously creating your own content, but then going to auditions and stuff like that. Did you ever have like this moment in an audition where they called you back and you felt like it was going to work out and it did work out? Like, what was your quote unquote biggest break so far?
Yeah, I get, okay. It never went where I wanted it to. It was kind of like, it was this weird moment. There was a switch that happened where it used to be like, don't talk about YouTube. And then it came where like every time I went to an audition, they'd be like, what's your social media following? It was like so weird that like that switch over. I honestly never made it past like co-star level. It was still exciting, but it wasn't like where I wanted to be at that point in my life. I was on How I Met Your Mother. I was on 90210, the reboot. I had like just a couple lines on shows.
Yeah.
I did get to be like a pretty good supporting character in some indie films that won awards. That was really fun, like a funny story. Also, my husband is a screenwriter, and so we got to work together on a couple movies that he wrote, and then I got to like be in as an actor, which was fun. But yeah, it never really evolved, and I kind of had this coming to terms moment where I was like, I was on set on a series, a really fun series actually. I really enjoyed it. It was called Dan is Dead. It never actually came out, but I was a lead character, and it was such a fun series. But it was 14-hour days in a trailer you're going from like 6 a.m. till 3 a.m. sometimes, and I had this moment where I was like, do I really like this? Like if I could choose, if it had been given to me like from the beginning that YouTube was a career and also acting was a career, would I have chosen acting?
Yeah.
Because it was never proposed that way. It was kind of something I fell into. And I really examined it, and I was like, you know what? I actually have a lot more fun and freedom doing YouTube and being my own content creator than I do on set. It's a blast, don't get me wrong. I love being on set. But I think there was more of like me falling in love with the idea of it than actually really loving it when I'm there.
Yeah, I can see that. It feels like acting on a show or being like what you described on set almost feels like you're working for someone else.
Yes.
Versus when you're creating your own content, like you're still in your creative zone.
Yes.
You're actually having fun doing the thing that you actually love doing. Where when you're working on set, you're only doing the one tiny piece that you like, which is acting.
Exactly. And I will say that the most fun I've had is when it's a collaborative effort between the director and the actors, where some directors really know how to talk to actors and some don't. Some directors are very like more into the lighting and technical aspects of things, and some are like really good with the creative collaborative process. And the times I've had the most fun is when it was like more of a collab effort. But yeah, working for yourself is just more fun. And it's I do feel like I serve more of the purpose that I think I was meant to be doing here when I'm doing my own stuff than when I'm on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
So now I just kind of view that as fun. If I stopped doing acting, but if I ever did do an acting role again, it would have to be for fun. It would have to be something that I actually just enjoy doing.
Yeah, and I would imagine before you were going out trying to find gigs, whereas like now if something comes across your plate, then like maybe I'll do this. Do you still have a manager?
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
so
he's great.
He kind of actively like looks out for you.
Yeah, he does. I've told him to stop sending me out for episodic and pilot season. That was like 2 years ago. Then the pandemic happened, so it was hard anyway. But yeah, now I actively, when stuff started happening again, I was like, I really don't want to go out anymore. And he totally understood. And he helps me with like influencer stuff too. So like I just did a deal with Friskies, for example, on Instagram, and it was like 3 videos, and he negotiates all that stuff. I don't have to deal with the business side
That's so nice.
Yeah, that stuff I'm terrible at. I'm more of the creative
You're in LA acting. You kind of feel like you run into a dead end there. Is comedy something that you've always loved as well?
Yes, comedy was always first.
Comedy was first.
Yeah, like stand up. Well, I wanted to do sitcom acting. So sitcom sketches, acting. I only really wanted to be a really good actor because I felt like the best comedic actors that I saw, like the best sitcoms, they had a good range. They could do like moments where you empathize with them. It wasn't just mugging to the camera and doing shtick. It was like they had a deeper level of character than and they were able to access that. So I wanted to get really good at dramatic acting to be the best comedic actor, because I feel like if you're good at drama, you can also do comedy, but not everybody that does comedy, or vice versa. You know, like if you can really hone the dramatic skills, you can be a good.
Did you ever do things like improv?
Yeah, I didn't like improv.
Really
I do
hard.
like improving within a scene.
Okay.
So I felt like that skill helped a lot.
Yeah.
My husband's a huge improv person.
Oh, okay.
We met doing sketch comedy on that channel, actually, on Totally Sketch.
Nice.
We were actors on that channel. Yeah. So he did improv, I did stand-up. I like stand-up because I like having the structure and being able to improv, do crowd work within the structure. But stand-up was my really true passion. That was like, I love performing. I love the energy between the audience and like the set that you're doing. It's always a different crowd, always a different energy. You never know what's going to happen. It's really exciting. It's very similar to poker. The feelings I get doing stand-up are really similar. I would say almost exactly the same feelings I have doing poker.
Stand-up scares me. And I can't imagine, you know, because like at least here we're on a live, quote unquote live, but like the camera goes down, I can pause it, I can cut things out, cut to different camera angles.
Yeah.
Not too much pressure.
Yeah.
But when you're like up there in front of however many people, you know, there's no like, hey guys, can we start over?
No, that's true. Yeah, you do have to have that improv skill to be able to be quick on your feet.
Have you ever bombed at like
I have. I was very drunk.
Okay, I feel like everybody, it's like a rite of
You have to bomb. Also, when you're creating, like when you're writing new material, you have to test it out sometime. And so you're probably going to bomb during the new material, and then, but you learn from that. Just like, so this is where it's like poker to me, is like you learn something new, you test it out. It either works or it doesn't. If you take the parts that work, or try to analyze the parts that didn't work, like why didn't that bluff spot work? Why, or does it work sometimes and like that I just got unlucky there, and so you test your material on different crowds to see like, was it just that crowd that didn't like that joke, or was it the joke itself? And then you go back and you polish it and you restructure and you adjust, and then you bring it back to another crowd and you see if that worked. And it's a lot of like going back and forth and polishing until you have this like shiny nugget and you know it's going to work every time, or most of the time you have an EV plus time with that decision.
we're gonna see if poker and comedy is still analogous, because when you're playing poker every single day, you're in the trenches, you kind of get a real good feel about, you know, what other people have. You kind of feel plugged into the game flow so much easier. But when you take time off and you go back to the poker table, I feel really rusty a lot of times.
That's exactly like stand-up comedy.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
There's a grind of stand-up comedy, like where there's a app just like Atlas or Bravo, like where you see all the open mics running that night, and you're hitting each open mic to test out your material when you're grinding, and you're going every day. And so, and you see the same people, you know the regs, you know, and so like, it's the same shit, honestly. And it doesn't surprise me why there's so many comedians that are into poker, because it's very analogous. And then if you get off the grind for a little bit, it's really scary going back, actually. Like, you feel very rusty. You feel like, oh, is that the way I delivered it before? Oh, shit, that joke usually gets laughs, but it's not getting laughs now. And you get kind of in your head about it.
Have you been grinding the comedy lately?
No. So actually, that's what happened, was I had just written a whole new set right before the pandemic. It was end of 2019. It was going awesome. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to tour. I've never toured before, like, because with stand-up, the way that you make money is by touring, but I had never gotten to that point because I was more doing YouTube and making money that way. So I was like, well, YouTube is, I have the structure down. It's like, fine, I can do it from anywhere. I'm vlogging, blah, blah, blah. I want to do this thing I've always wanted to do, which was tour with stand-up. And I wrote the set. I thought it was crushing. It was awesome. And then February 2020, everything shut down. And I was like, fuck, how long is this going to be down?
Had you done a couple stops yet, or was it before?
No, I was just doing LA.
Oh.
I was just polishing. I did a couple, I guess, in Santa Barbara and Camarillo. I always try to, those are my original hometown spots. And like, I like going back there and performing. But yeah, I was like, this one's going to crush. I'm so excited. And then everything shut down. I was like, okay, 6 months. We'll do it in 6 months. We'll just work on our podcasts and stuff. And then when everything opens up, I'll get back out there. Well, it just kept going. Like the pandemic just kept going. So everything was getting really stressful with the podcast and like trying to figure out like how to record at home. And then there was legal issues, and then there was family issues, and there was a whole bunch of like crazy drama. Like I'm sure everyone went through a lot of crazy drama during 2020, but I was so overwhelmed. And we were house hunting in Vegas because our friends moved here, and my husband's really deep into the crypto space. Like he actually does a crypto live stream every week. And so he's crypto, and over here we could save money on taxes. Plus all of our friends were moving over here. So we decided to, start house hunting. And while I was here, you couldn't go play craps or do all the stuff that you do in Vegas because everything was shut down. But I wanted that, that I had that itch, like, how could I be in Vegas and not like have a Vegas time? So I started playing a lot of poker on my phone.
Were you in LA, or you had already come to Vegas?
I was living in LA, and we were house hunting in Vegas. Oh, okay. So this was 2020.
Okay.
And we actually didn't close on our house till the end of 2021. So there was a lot of back and forth between LA and Vegas. And during that time, I was playing poker on my phone, and I was kind of like vlogging about it. It was play money apps. It wasn't even real money apps. I was just like, it was something I was doing in between editing so that I didn't have to think about work. Like, it's very like, it was really stressful, and I didn't have to think about it when I just spent hours like playing poker. And I just had a really basic understanding of the game back then. I was always pretty good. I started playing when I was like 8. But I wasn't, it was like more intuitive. Like I didn't.
Do you remember a catalyst for like getting you back into poker? Like, was there something that you can point to that says like, oh, I started seeing this on TV? Or
so yeah, I was vlogging about how I was just playing a lot of play money poker, and it was just whatever. And I would be like, oh, I won $20 million last night. It's whatever, stupid. And people were like, oh, I didn't know you were into poker. Have you read this book? And so I think the first book that was recommended was actually that one, Mental Game of Poker. And I read it because I'm really into psychology. We talk a lot about psychology stuff on our podcast. And I've always been better with the psychological aspect of things than the technical stuff. But during the opening of that book by Jared Tindler, he talks about how you have to have like a solid foundation of strategy, and maybe that's where your tilt is coming from because maybe you don't have a solid foundation. And he says in the first paragraph, like maybe when you first started, you thought that calling a queen jack off to a 3-bet was a good idea because you thought it was a good hand. And I was like, number one, what is that O with next to the Q and the J? Like, what is that O? Number two, what's a 3-bet? And number three, why wouldn't I call a great hand like Queen Jack? Like, that's a really good hand. Like,
especially in play money.
Yeah. And then he starts talking about positions, and maybe you're opening too wide from under the gun. I'm like, what is UTG? Like, there is a whole world that I don't know about this game, and I'm interested. You got me.
Do you remember the first time you actually set foot in a casino? What casino that was?
Yes. It was Memorial Day weekend, so May.
In the last couple of years?
Last year.
Oh, wow.
2021. It was in Commerce Casino.
Okay.
And
LA's friendliest supposedly, but not necessarily. I think it's false advertisement.
That Commerce is friendly?
Just that it's LA's friendliest casino, yes.
I guess
it seems like a miserable place.
That's like saying this prison's better than that prison.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I guess it's friendly. It's a lot of degenerate. It's like a lot of gambling.
I could see how it would be intimidating to walk into there. It's a massive room. Like nobody's really like trying to help you out. You kind of.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, it's the grinders' paradise. It's just like a lot of grinders, a lot of gamblers.
Did you go play the $40 game where you,
I played
like a 1-1 or something?
No. Again, I always just start everything ass backwards. I had studied GTO for 4 months before deciding to use real money. Okay. During that time, I was watching poker vloggers, And poker vloggers weren't playing 1-3 games. They were playing 2-5 and up games.
Yeah.
So I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think to start lower than that. I was like, why would I play penny slots? I'm playing 2-5. I'm going in there with $1,000. That's a lot of buy-ins at Commerce.
Yeah.
That's 5 buy-ins at Commerce, by the way. They have a $200 max at their 3-5 game.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that 40 big blinds was not a good starting stack or not a regular starting stack. I just knew that I watched 2-5 vloggers and that Commerce had a max buy-in of 200, so that must be a big buy-in.
Yeah.
And I have 5 of those. So I put $1,000 into my bankroll and I was like, let's see how far we could go with this. Let's see if we can profit. Number one, our first time in. And whatever we take, let's just learn. I love learning new shit. I love like honing. I love the process of learning new skills. That's like my favorite thing is the process part. I know results are fun, but I really didn't care about the money. I just wanted to be good at the game. So I was like, okay, if you lose 70% of $1,000, if you lose $700, then we have to go. If you win 50% of this, you win up to $1,500, we have to go.
Your discipline is already off the charts.
Just set rules. I like improv with a structure. I like structure that you could do whatever you want inside of that. But like you have to have some rules, or else you. And I own 2 businesses, so I had to figure it out. So I go in there with my $200, and I'm so scared because I'm like, these guys know what they're doing. All I wanted to do was them to not know that I'm a fish. Like.
Yeah.
Which is impossible. Like, by the way, I went into Commerce Casino with a bright pink tank top and white shorts. I was like the youngest female in there.
Even handling chips is like not something that you're used to.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. I was so slow, like 5.
Like shaking a little
Yeah, like yes.
Yeah.
But I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do it just like how I do with The Sims. I play The Sim every morning. I was playing 200 hands of Poker Snowy every single morning.
That's awesome.
And I was like, okay, I'm just
That's a great way to like start. I mean, most people don't start that way. All right, thanks for watching the podcast. If you guys are enjoying it, make sure you click the like if you want to support the channel. If you also want to get access to the software that Nikki Limo used to get better at poker, I put a link down in the description. It's a bit more beginner, and I also have an option for the more advanced person. I'll put a link for a range converter down below if you're interested in that to take your game to the next level. Let's get back to the podcast.
To learn starting hand selections, I felt like that was the best way because it yells at you if you like, oh, you want to play King Jack from Under the Gun? You're getting yelled at. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna play just like The Sim. And I learned very quickly that people don't play like The Sim.
Yeah, no, not in LA especially.
You raise 3 big blinds and everybody calls.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to do now.
It's a wild
because I only play heads up with The Sim.
Yeah.
So,
did you have success that first?
I did.
Oh.
So
this is my theory. I feel like anytime newer players have success early on,
yes,
that it ignites something inside of them and like really gets them just thirsty for more information. But if you lose that first time, you're like, why do people play this stupid game?
Totally.
Yeah.
And same with stand-up.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you bomb your first show, you're like, that was the scariest shit I've ever done, and I should have never done that. But you do well your first show, you get a couple laughs at least, you're like, there's more I could do. So yeah, I did have success. I turned my $200. I only had 1 buy-in, and then I walked with 260 after 4 hours. That was the end of the rule. I was like, okay, after 4 hours, we'll do a check-in.
These are great rules for a beginning player, by the way.
Right?
You should write a book.
Because you're not going to have an edge.
Yeah.
Like normally the rule is if you have an edge at the table, you stay as long as until you don't have an edge. Yeah. If you don't have an edge, you leave the table, try to find a different table. But I'm not going to have an edge. It was my first time in. I'd only been playing house games. I played with real money and house games before then, and I had success. But I had never played like with strangers. I had only played with friends, family, and like extended friends, I guess, like other groups that friends were mutual or whatever. So I was playing with strangers, and they definitely knew that I was new, but I was trying to act like I wasn't. Yeah. And I was playing very tight ranges, very tight. I was very tight.
It doesn't actually matter in LA sometimes.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't because I had ace king suited. I'll never forget this hand. I had ace king suited diamonds. I get like 3 callers, the flop comes all diamonds, and I had people betting into me. The first guy bets before I'm a pre-flop raiser.
Yeah.
The blinds are betting first.
Yeah.
And and so
You're like, you're not supposed to do this.
the small
Poker
blind
show
bets,
says-
the big blind goes all in. So I call and I'm trying to take more money out of my pocket.
you're like,
I
let's
didn't
get
know the
more money
rules.
out
I was like, well, his stack's bigger, so do I have to take more money to match it? And they were like, no.
This is like 2019, right?
The 2021.
Oh, this is insane. I love that this is 2021. You don't understand table stakes. You're stacking people your first time out. And like within a year, I mean, this is a year ago, basically, you're at a final table of a WSOP event playing for a bracelet. Like this,
Wild.
The ascension that you can go so quickly in poker if you actually study and you actually care about getting better is insane.
I think if I was to tell people, because people since that run in WSO, people were like, what books are you reading? Before I was telling them that they read books, and they're like, if you have to read books to play poker, you're not very good. And I was like, do whatever you want, dude. But like in acting, even if I was the best actor, I'm still having a coach. It doesn't matter. Like the best actors, Oscar winners, have coaches. So if you're in poker and you want to do well, it makes sense to have a coach. Like it just does. It makes sense. And if you go in with that mindset, then I feel like you will have success. But a lot of people, I think, focus on the glamour, and that happens in the entertainment industry as well. Same with stand-up. They see like the people headlining. Oh, they're so funny. They're killing it. Everyone loves them. I want to be that because I want to make people laugh and make everyone's like, that guy's the funniest guy in the room. Okay, so with poker, you're only seeing the highlights of people making sick bluffs or people stacking people, and people are like super obsessed with that, but they don't have a good pre-flop strategy. They don't have any good foundation for how to even get there. They just want to get there. And I see that in the influencer space all the time. People just want to be famous. They don't know what they want to be famous for. They just want to be famous.
Yeah, what you're talking about is very profound, and I kind of want to touch on it a little bit more. But to get to you, so people are funny, right? Like, oh, this person is so funny. They're like the best comedian ever. But sure, there might be like naturally quick-witted or funny or whatever, but there's no way they're going to be one of the best comedians in the world without an insane work ethic.
Yes.
Practicing, working at getting better. They're not just going to like, their natural ability isn't just going to make them the best. So it's the same in poker.
Yeah.
People have natural abilities in poker to be like less risk averse, more bold, more willing to go for it. But if you don't know, like if you don't practice, you don't have the fundamentals, it's going to be the same thing. Like you might have a lot of natural talent, but you're not going to be one of the best.
Same with sports. I mean, you watch that Michael Jordan doc, you know, like he's obviously very talented, but he still had that work ethic. Like he's in the gym every day. He's doing drills every day. Like you have to fall in love with the process, in my opinion. If you don't have joy in the process, then you don't really get the results. Or if you do get the results, you kind of like, it was a one-off, you don't know how to get there again. And that causes a lot of depression. Even in the entertainment space, people that have early success where they're on a TV show when they're a kid, let's say, they don't know how they got there, or they just started acting and they got a series regular spot. Then that show gets canceled. They don't know how to get there again. And it's, there's some natural ability that really helps. But if you're not also practicing and doing drills and really like finding joy in that, then I don't know if it's long lasting or sustainable. Yeah,
I've noticed that even with creating content myself, I started uploading videos just because I wanted a creative outlet. I wanted to have fun with it. And I noticed that, well, on the 7th video, people started watching, and it was because I lost a lot of money in one of my videos.
Okay, yeah.
And
people love drama.
Like attached, to that, you know, they love seeing the train wreck. And I was like, oh, people watching this kind of gives me more fuel to make it. And I never went into making videos with the intention of like, I wanted people to watch them. Like, I want to be famous, or like, I want.
That's great.
You know, it was more the intention of like, let me figure out how to make videos. This looks like a fun thing. Oh, I'm terrible at public speaking. Let me work on this. It sounds like something I could get better at. And like one foot in front of the other, and just having this passion on getting better. Oh, I want to upgrade my camera now. Oh, I want to compose this shot better. Oh, the audio's off. It's kind of like the same way when I first started playing poker. Yeah. It was like, oh shit, this 3-bet worked. Like, yes, exactly. Maybe I should like look into 3-betting more, and like maybe I should up my percentage on 3-betting. It's just like you go down this rabbit hole, and I've noticed the same thing with everything that I really love doing. DJing, I started DJing, and it was like the same thing. I want to make mixes sound better. It wasn't, I want to make a song so I can be an internationally famous DJ.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I do think that maybe that was why I didn't have as much success with acting, because YouTube was like, I was trying to use YouTube to get there, and it wasn't, I was like so focused on the end result happening. And when it wasn't happening, I was just getting so mad and like upset about it that I wasn't having fun with the process. And then when that mindset switched, I was like, this is actually really fun, and I really actually love my life as is without that extra part. And then when I did get a little taste of that extra part, I didn't really like it that much. But yeah, it was the same with poker, where I didn't care about the money. I cared about not losing money because it felt like, okay, I got to go home my strategy more if I'm losing a lot of money. But I never lost that initial $1,000. Every time I did have a losing session, I like really wanted to figure out why, whether it was variance or if it was blunders that I made, and like looked into why. I also love YouTube. I love the poker community in YouTube. It reminds me so much of like the original OG YouTube community. You guys are all like just happy to be creating content and like collaborating together. It used to be like that once upon a time in the YouTube comedy scene. It used to be like that.
I honestly feel like that in the poker scene too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it used to be like this thing where we all collaborated together. It was a very small, tight-knit community.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like kind of feeling how you are, where it's like, I feel like people are getting into it for the wrong reasons now.
Yeah.
It's all about the clout. They don't really care about even if they're winning players. They're just like trying to get people to like, oh, posting on their Instagram, go like this, and even if you don't watch the video, and and it's like, can I get a shout out on your Instagram? It feels a little bit different to me nowadays.
And that's always going to happen with a niche. That's why I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm in right now, where like it hasn't quite hit that tipping point of like douchebaggery.
Yeah.
It will, but I just love like everyone that I've met in the poker vlogger community and the tournament poker community. Tournament poker is way different than cash games.
Yeah.
Well,
it has a different community.
The communities are so different. I mean, the strategies are very different, but like the tournament poker players all hang together. They, do go to places together.
The poker media is built around tournaments.
Yeah.
But the poker YouTube community is more built around cash games.
Yeah.
And when I met you, you were playing cash games.
Yes.
And I asked you a little bit about tournaments.
I hated them.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm not really into that.
Yeah.
And you can see why, because 80% of the time that you're going to enter, you're probably
I just didn't get them.
You know?
I didn't understand. I was approaching them like I was cash games, and it's like almost an opposite approach. And I just didn't get it. And when I don't get something, I don't like it. Like,
when did you start? When did you get the bug? Like, when did you get the bug? Because everybody's had it at one point in their life.
Okay, so we moved here in November into Vegas, and the WSOP was happening during that time. It was October, November. Everybody's talking about it, and I'm like, I wrote down in my journal that I wanted to win a WSOP bracelet by 2023, but I didn't actually like tournaments. So I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, how are you going to hit that goal if you don't even play tournaments? You don't even like tournaments. You don't play tournaments. Maybe you would like it if you understood the strategy. Maybe you would actually, if you gave it a chance, you could actually find something you like about it, and then you could hit that goal. Because even though it's like, why would you want it if you don't even like playing tournaments? Well, because you don't get trophies for playing cash, and I want to be good at every aspect of the game and not just one aspect. And so I felt like I was being kind of closed-minded to them, and I was like, okay, let's stop that. So I was like, okay, come 2022, January, I'm going to start studying tournament strategy. I'm going to grind like little $3 online tournaments and just like try to get it, try to grasp these concepts. Also, it helped that I moved directly across the street from two tournament pros. I don't know if you know Chris Moorman and Katie Lindsay.
Yeah.
But they are literally, our house looks at their house.
Oh, wow.
We live right across the street from them. We were having drinks and getting together, and I talked about how I play cash. They play tournaments. I'm like, I don't really know tournaments. They're like, oh yeah, it's a different type of grind. And then I started getting into like ACR and just doing like different, online tournaments, and finally won. It was a $30 buy-in. I won $2,000, and I was like, okay, this is the end of January. I was like, okay, now I got to hire a coach.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use this $2,000, and I'm going to, just like how I got a commercial and I used the money to pay for my private coaching and acting for a year. I was like, okay, I'm going to use this money and use it for a coach.
Your poker story is very disciplined. You know,
Yeah.
like a lot of people, they don't do the study part up front. They just like hop in because, like you said, the glamour. And tournaments are the same as like, oh, I play cash, so I should be able to figure out tournaments. No, you actually started playing $3 buy-ins on ACR rather than just like dumping, $200 buy-ins.
Oh yeah, I think that would be just lighting money on fire. Because again, like you don't have an edge. You don't know tournaments. You're just learning them. I don't know how blind structures work, like the levels and like the calculating big blinds and how everything is like dependent on stack depths. Like I'm used to the stack depth being the same like the whole time. So that was like a huge mind fuck.
So once you got the coach,
it
was kind of with the intention of like the World Series is coming up this summer.
Yeah.
I want to be able to play some of these events.
Yeah.
And the one that you played was a $600 buy-in. Was that actually the first WSOP event you ever
No,
played?
I did play housewarming.
Okay, which was like a $500
Yeah.
buy-in. So that you were kind of sticking in.
I was only going to play under $1,000 buy-in. So there was a Colossus, which I had to end up missing because I got sick. But it was Colossus, that $600 deep stack, and then the housewarming. I think there was one other one. There was like one other $800 deep stack like later in the series that I was going to play. And then that was it. And the only reason I was even going to play those, like so many of them, was because right before the series started, I won second place at an MGM tournament. I almost won first. Whatever. It's a chop situation, drama.
I know the pain of second place in a tournament.
Especially since I was first when we were initially going to chop. A guy changed his mind at the last minute. Then another guy stacked him. And then when we revoted, I was second. And then I could have gotten a seat at Tournament of Champions. Whatever. It's fine. It was my first 5-figure win. So it was a $100 buy-in. And I won $12,000, which doubled my bankroll at the time.
Was this a WSOP thing?
No, this was an MGM Summer Series.
Okay.
It was like their first time doing a series during the WSOP, so they were excited. We were excited. It was $100. It was my first 2-day event, so it was my first time bagging.
Oh, that's a fun thing.
Yeah, and then I ended up going all the way. By the way, I have only ever final tabled or not cashed at all in live tournaments.
That is so wild.
So I played 30 live tournaments, lifetime. I've final tabled 6 of them. I've never been cashed.
Wow.
I've been cashed online, just not in live.
Well, pretty small sample size, but that's
it's very small.
That's absolutely amazing. Talk to me more about your run in the WSOP because I've played a lot of tournaments. Probably, if we're just talking buy-ins or bullets, probably 150 bullets in WSOP events.
Whoa.
Over the course of 15 years.
Yeah, but still blows my mind.
It's like 10 a year. You know?
It's like it was like I did 10,000 comedy shows.
And I've never final tabled the WSOP event.
Wow.
I've gotten 16th twice.
Yeah.
And 30th once, 31st. I usually play really large field tournaments, but talk to me about a final table at a WSOP.
Yeah, I have so much to say about it. Well, one, I feel like it's totally skewed my experience of the WSOP. I thought that this one was going to be getting my feet wet. I was like, okay, I'll min cash, and I'll just get a cute little Instagram post that's like, cash my first WSOP, like very cute. I just started playing live tournaments 3 months prior. So I didn't have high expectations. I was like, these are like the best of the best from all over the world. Like the fields are huge. Yeah. This particular one had 5,717 entrants. And so I even did an Instagram post. It was after busting the housewarming. So it was like, 2 days after that, it was this deep stack event. And I even did an Instagram story that was like, well, lighting $600 on fire today.
Yeah.
But my mindset is always like, well, if I bust the tournament, I'm going to go play cash. I always make up the buy-in in cash. I'm usually pretty successul at that. If I bust a $100 tournament, I'll go play cash, make $500, and it didn't make a dent in my bankroll. So that's what that was my plan. I bust this event, I'll go play Aria. It'll be fun. There's a lot of fish right now during the WSOP. It's really fun to playing cash. Yeah. But we made it to late reg. That's always my first milestone. I'm like, okay, we made it to late reg. No more rebuys. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, only 5,000. We just have to get through 5,000 people now.
Yeah. Wow.
Only 5,000. I was kind of just making a joke. And also, I think that if you keep it fun, I've never won when I'm having a serious time. If I'm taking the game too seriously and I really need the win, I'd never win.
Yeah.
But if I'm well, this is weird. We made it to late reg. Like,
Yeah.
let's see how much farther it goes. Well, then we made it to day 2 and we bagged. Well, we made it to the money. So we made it to the money. I had 20 big blinds on the bubble. There was one hand where a guy was like, whoever wins this next hand gets a free massage. He had a coupon for the massage girl to come and get a free 15-minute massage. He's like, you got to pay the tip, but whoever wins this next hand gets a massage.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the blinds and small blind, and the low jack shoves all in with 18 blinds, and I have 20. And I look down at queens. So I call. No, it folds to me. I call. He had king, queen, offsuit. I win. He's busted. I get his stack and also a free massage. So I get like this massage and like this is on the bubble. Like everyone's freaking out trying to make the bubble, and I'm just like getting a massage. The next hand, that guy that offered the massage, he goes all in. I look down in the big blind now. Wait, no, the button now with ace queen offsuit, and he shoves for like 15 blinds, and I was like, normally I would call. It's probably GTO to call, but I'm just getting a massage and I want to make the bubble.
Yeah.
So
And this guy bought you the massage, right?
Yeah. So I folded and I told him what I had after. And like there was just moments like that where I probably didn't make the right play, but I was just kind of going like with different spots. Like I felt different ways at different times, like where I felt very confident about the queens. I didn't feel confident taking a flip with ace queen off when I just stacked somebody. Now I have to lose that all if he has pocket threes and I don't hit an ace or a queen.
I'm guessing that you ramped up the aggression after the bubble burst.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. After
That's
the
pretty
bubble,
typical.
and with coaching, we had studied bubble play. We studied ICM and how much different it is after the bubble. And so once we made the money, it's like, there's no ICM's not really in play until you're closer to final table now. So go nuts. And people they were going nuts.
Yeah.
And there was one hand where I got down, like my stack was slowly dwindling and I got down to like 18 blinds and I got pocket sevens and everybody's short stacked at the table. And there was a raise, a call. Then this wild guy who had been shoving almost every hand goes all in. And I'm like, he's been showing that he's been shoving with bullshit. So I have pocket sevens on the button, and I reshove over him, over 2 other people too. And then the blinds still have to act. And this guy in the big blind's like, oh God, okay. And he folds. Well, I had pocket sevens. Everyone else folds. It's just me and this guy heads up
That guy
now.
folds
Lots
like
of dead
nines or
money.
something.
The guy, he folded tens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I had sevens. And the guy that shoved, the wild guy, had queen 3 off.
Wow.
The board runs out, and not only does he not hit a pair, but I hit a straight. And so the guy with pocket tens is like, oh, I'm glad you reshoved because that saved me. But yeah, I ended up being chip leader by the end of day 1. And I went into, I was 6th in chips overall going into day 2. So that was really cool.
Was the final table on day 2? Was it one of the ones that went like super late?
No, yeah, it went to like 10 p.m., but it was, the final table was on day 2.
Okay. And did
And-
you have a lot of people come out for your final table?
Yeah, I did surprisingly. That shocked me the most because I really was taking each step one step at a time. I was not expecting anything. I wasn't like, if I final table, y'all got to be here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was just like, I called my husband when we took a break when there were 2 tables left. And I was like, hey, there's a really good chance I'm going to final table. I'm 2nd in chips at 2 tables left. It would really mean a lot if you were there, but if not, it's cool. Like he had a show that he was doing his crypto live stream and he doesn't like to miss those. And he's like, well, I don't know if I should miss it because blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I was like crying. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening. It's weird. It's crazy. And he's like, well, go kill it out there, Then he gets on his live stream and everybody in his audience is like, what the fuck are you doing? Get down there.
Yeah.
So then him and Chris Mormon were like, Chris was home and so they both went down there. And then I was Instagram storing it. So then my Cash Games group, the Hand History Lounge, shout out to Andrew Nimi and Benton Blakeman, this is Andrew's merch. They heard that they were all railing virtually because Poker News was covering it, and that was another thing. I'd never been written up, and Poker News was covering everything from day one and into day two.
My group chat was blowing up. They're like, Nikki's Final Table, and you got to go down there and check it out.
Dude, I had no idea that so many people were talking about it. People that I'd been playing tournaments with that I just met like within a month, they were keeping up with it.
Jesse's fiance,
Yeah,
I was playing in a tournament with her, and she's like, one of our friends is Final Tabling, and I didn't know who she was talking about.
Yeah.
And then I got home and saw my messages, and I'm like, oh, she was talking about Nikki.
So wild. Oh, and I had just met a bunch of tournament players at Punter's Pad. ACR did this Punter's Pad thing. I was in like one of their little sketch videos on YouTube that Saturday, and the tournament was on Monday, Tuesday. And so I had just met them, and they all came and railed because they were playing another tournament that they busted in, and then they came and railed, and then Andrew was there, and Jesse and Ashley were there, and then a bunch of Cash Games group people were there, and then I turned around and my husband was there. I actually didn't see any of them until I shoved on a hand, and this guy was tanking forever, and then he finally folded, and then everybody cheered behind me, and I was like, I have a rail, and then I looked behind because my back is facing the rail, and like all these people were there, and that was just like one of those moments where you're like, I can't even process this right now. Like, this is just so overwhelmingly amazing. And I was just so grateful to be there. But what's weird is it didn't feel different being at the final table than it did being at the final table at the Orleans at a $100 buy-in, because it was still the same mindset. It was still the same strategy. It was still like, I've been at a final table before. Well, luckily I'd been at a final table a couple, like 5 times before in recent history. And so I had worked the final table play, and I wasn't like nervous or a stranger to it. And I just like was playing my game, and also really frustrated at myself that, I mean, here I am sitting at a final table, like at the WSOP, it's a dream. But I was just thinking about how mad I was at this blunder that I made right on the bubble of the final table, where I was second in chips, and then I punted off like almost half my stack with a hand that I didn't need to be in, that I could have just folded and been second in chips and been like more in a position to be heads up for a bracelet. And Jesse, my coach, told me not to think about that because you never know, like anything could happen on a final table. But I just couldn't stop thinking about that. Like, and so even after I won 6 figures in 4th place,
what was the payout?
It was $116,600. So minus the buy-in, it was exactly $116,000. I was just mad about this ace jack offsuit hand that I played like right before the bubble, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, that's the mark of a poker player.
Like, because I wanted to win.
Yeah, and also like you're not a gambler.
Yeah.
You're an actual poker player. So that like helps you separate, did I play this hand well or not? Yeah.
And I went over the spot with Jesse after, and he's like, yeah, you kind of didn't play that well. And I was like, yeah, I know. And like, but I'll never forget that spot now. I'll never forget doing that, and I will never do that again. And, I'm not trying to take away from getting 4th, but we had a conversation in the Cash Games group 3 weeks prior when I got second place in that MGM tournament, because we chopped a second. I wanted to play for the win, but everybody in the group was like, it's just more profitable like you to chop because blah blah blah, and I get it. But in my opinion, if I was doing it for the money, I'd just play cash. I'm doing it for the bracelet. Like, you're doing it for the win. Like in tournaments, how many times are you going to get to a final table? So why would you not play for the win? And this is a debate that I've been really surprised that I'm a minority on this side, that the majority, and I guess because it is like, you're not a gambler, like people like solid strategy, and, profitability wise for your bankroll, it's the more EV plus strategy to chop if you don't have an edge at the final table.
I think that people are attacking it from a dollars perspective, and what your perspective on it is more of an end game perspective. Like, if I actually play this out, number one, I'm going to get more experience.
Yes.
And that experience could serve me well in a future game, in a future tournament. But number two, those are the moments we live for.
Yes.
Why the fuck would we deprive ourselves
Just
of the moments that we live for?
Absolutely. Like, and you play all that way. You got through 5,715 people and you're just going to chop?
Yeah.
Like, no. Well, we didn't chop at WSOP, but we chopped at MGM, and the only reason I agreed to it, because I did really want to play for the win, and I had told myself going into it, if we made Final Table, we weren't going to chop. The only reason I agreed to it was because it doubled my bankroll. And I felt like if I happened to have busted early, then I would walk away with $3,000. If I chop now, I walk with $12,000. So yeah, the money made a difference, and it especially because my bankroll at the time was $12,000, so it doubled it. And then I was like, well, then I could pay for all my buy-ins for WSOP. So it made sense in that moment, but I was like, I'm never doing this again. I beat myself up for 2 days after that because I was like, we could have played for the win. We could have played for who knows? We'll never know now. We'll never know if we could have won.
So now we have you in poker. Do you feel like you're going to be here for a while? Like, what's the next 6 months look like for you in terms of content creation, comedy, stuff you're doing with your husband? You said you're starting a new podcast, streaming, like doing all this stuff?
Yeah, and I canceled the podcast. So I'm taking that off my plate. Every time I try to do a new thing or a new thing seems like it's blossoming, I kind of want to take off old things because, I don't want to be spread too thin. But yeah, like I was saying before with like being process oriented rather than results oriented, I don't know. I kind of am finding joy in the not knowing. I didn't think I was going to be playing tournaments and then we just kind of went on that route and then we final tabled at WSOP and it's like, okay, that was really cool. I don't know what happens next. Well, what happened after that was people wanted to stake me for the other tournaments. I wasn't going to play the main at all this year. And then people bought 50% of the action. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll pay $4,000 because it was a markup. So I only paid $4,000 to participate in the main for the experience. That's pretty much free rolled because I won all that.
What was your experience like?
It was really fun. I was, I guess, annoyed that you don't get to pick the tournaments that you run good in.
Yeah.
So
which day did you bust out in?
The very last hour of the last level of day 2.
Oh, okay.
Pocket queens versus nines. I had queens, they had nines. Guy in the big blind is like, don't worry, I folded a 9. You're good. No nines came, but guess what? The board ran him right into a straight on the river.
Oh.
He hit a straight on the river.
So this is my personal experience in the main event. And I think it's because I've generally not been a tournament player. I've been a cash game player the majority of my career. More recently, just switching into tournaments. But I played the main event every year. So I've played it 9 times. And busting out of the main event, regardless of what day it is, day 1, day 2, it's always the worst.
Yeah.
Was that your experience?
It was just because I thought I was getting the double up and I was like, we're going to day 3, baby. Like I had been short stacked all day. Yeah. I'd been getting really lucky. Like I did have some really good variants go my way. I pocket 5s versus queens. I hit a 5. I got doubled up. And then I had pocket 10s versus ace king. He hit his king. I hit a 10 on the turn, doubled up. So I had been.
Like it was your turn.
Yeah, and then every time I wasn't a favorite, I won. Yeah. Every time I was a favorite, which happened to be the last hand, I lost. But I just wanted to go to day 3 with 40 big blinds, and I was right on track, and then that happened. So I had a good time all day. My table was awesome, so we had fun. I got to participate in an event that I didn't think I was going to get to participate in. So I had all that perspective, but you still can't help feeling bad. You still go to your car and I'm sad.
I'm also not productive the next day.
No.
I don't know how long it took you to come out of your little funk.
Well, to be honest, I get fired up after losing. I had the hardest time after winning. After winning, I felt like I forgot how to play poker.
Wow. I
didn't know how to go back to the beginning. I felt like I don't know how I got there. I had huge imposter syndrome set in. I was like, why would you think, of course this was a lucky thing. You've only been playing for a year. That just doesn't happen like that. Don't play any more events because you don't know what you're doing really. And I got really in my head and I haven't cashed since in a tournament. I've played cash games and done well, but I haven't cashed a single tournament since that deep run.
Hours in a week? How many hours do you think you're spending on poker versus your other businesses?
Well, I guess the series is a little different since you're kind of stuck there, or you want to be stuck there because it means you're doing well. But I would definitely say that I've been spending probably 30 to 40 hours a week on poker and like 10 hours a week on my business.
Wow. Lucky
Yeah.
to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for thanks for promoting poker too.
Oh, of course.
Like actually sharing it on your Instagram and even making a YouTube video, because it's obviously not your demographic.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what's fun about it for me, is that I've kind of always been like, on my channel, it's like I get into a hobby, I go really hard on it, and then I go on to the next hobby. But poker doesn't feel that way. It feels like one that's sticking. But they're used to me doing a hobby and giving a whole breakdown of being obsessed with it. Like I did candle making, and then I did like sticker making, cooking. Yeah, the cooking thing went for a while. That was like,
you're not doing those anymore?
no. Well, I mean, they might come back up, but it took a sabbatical. It was Tasty Tuesday. I basically started that because it was when my husband and I were first dating, and we just moved in together, and I had no idea how to cook. And so I was vlogging everything going on in our lives, and I was like, I should learn how to cook so I'm wifey material.
Yeah.
And then it was comedic because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, you're like making ridiculous mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. Like I didn't know you're supposed to prep ingredients before you start. So I was trying to prep while like water was boiling, and it was not like scripted. It was not like planned. I just didn't know how to cook. And after 5 years, you learn how to cook. So it's no longer so funny because I don't know. I know how to cook now. I'm just trying to find crazy recipes, and like that's the hard part, is like they're crazy. But
I've run into that with creating my own poker content. Is I just don't feel as like passionate about making the same videos that I was making 4 years ago. So,
and that happens.
I've been in kind of a crossroads myself.
That happens to every YouTuber, though. I will let you know. Like, it's almost a curse to have a successful format, because then you feel handcuffed to that format.
Yeah.
But I always tell people like that are starting out on YouTube, at least, like find a niche, like for sure, like whatever you're passionate about, like go hard on that niche, because that's the only way to really grow a YouTube channel. But then once you're there, don't feel like you're locked in to that niche. Like you can start other formats. You can still like balance it, where I would do like, I had videos 3 days a week where I had Tasty Tuesday for them. And then I would do like a video for me once a month, you know, where I do a sketch or like something that I know is not going to get a lot of views. It's not going to make any money on AdSense, but it's for me. Like I feel I'm balanced creatively.
Yeah. I had one sketch that I did on.
Yeah?
It bombed. My like to dislike ratio was the worst on that.
Really?
On that video than I've
Oh
ever.
my God, I'm
mean,
so
it
sad.
Was still it was probably like 75% likes.
Yeah.
25% dislikes. But normally on my poker videos, it's like 90.
Yeah, of course.
So people didn't like it. I think one of the things that people didn't like is that for the first like 3 minutes of the video, they didn't know it was a sketch.
Oh, right.
They thought that it was like a real video.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, they're like, wait, this is a joke. And then people were like, I don't like this.
They didn't like being tricked.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I was actually having a conversation with Marley Spraggs because she is the opposite, like where she started in poker and then she wants to be more of a comedic content creator. She's really funny. And I love her channel. But I was telling her that I went the opposite way, where like I was doing comedy and creating content forever, but I just want to play poker all day. Like it's not that I don't want to vlog. It's just that I'm having the most progression learning this skill, whereas I already know how to vlog. It's not interesting and stimulating to me anymore. I already know how to vlog. I already know how to edit. I already know what I'm doing over there. Yeah. But poker, I'm still learning a lot and like improving and like finding new spots that are fun, and like it's stimulating. It's like got that spark in it still. So it always like happens that way. You get really good at something and then you're like, but yeah, it's just kind of like, it's kind of become a 9 to 5 now. Like you need, I think, just a creative personality. Like you just need something that's stimulating, whether it's finding a new thing that sparks joy in the current thing that you're doing, or you find a spark of joy doing some hobby or something else. Yeah.
Thank you for spending time and introducing yourself to the poker world. I feel like you're definitely an asset for our particular world. In general, like poker players are not as social. They're not as creative in terms of like content and stuff. So it's fun to have people that are like that, you know, showing love to our game and promoting it. So, and also like I'm actually excited to check out more of your content. You know,
thanks.
Like one of the first times I really got to get to know you. So
Yeah,
we'll
thank
check
you for
out-
having me on, even though I'm not like I was a YouTuber first and then, just recently poker.
I like to like talk to people that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And because like you're a content creator and that thing is kind of passionate for me right now.
Yeah.
It was exciting for me to like kind of dive into like who you are in terms of your content creation. And
Thank you.
obviously being in poker is just a bonus.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for staying with us on Embrace the Grind. I had a fun talk with Nikki today. If you want to check her out, you can check her out. I'm sure, is NikkiLimo.com a thing?
Yeah. Oh, Nikki.Limo actually.
Oh, Nikki.Limo.
Yeah, there's a .limo.
Oh, nice.
I think it's for limo companies, but
Oh.
like I have a lot of limo companies following me on Twitter because I think they think I'm one of them.
Do you have a NikkiLimo.eth?
No.
Your husband didn't hook you up with a .eth?
No, I stay out of his crypto. He stays out of poker. It's a good system for us.
I actually like that. My wife is not into poker as well. We have
Yeah.
separate things. So
I found that a lot of couples, similar professions, but like
Yeah.
like not poker.
she's in PR marketing.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that, but like she's not interested in poker. So we have our like separate things.
Yeah, like Andrew Nemi, his wife's not in poker, but she does stocks. And I'm like, so it's like my husband does crypto. It's like similar.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of analogous things that happen in our worlds, but like
Yeah.
do we stay out of each other's thing? Also, when crypto's doing well, he'll give me money for bankroll. When poker's doing well, I give him back money for crypto.
Yep.
So it's symbiosis.
I'm into crypto, so I'm going to check out your husband's stuff.
Oh,
as
sweet,
well.
yeah.
A weekly live stream. Mm-hmm. Cool. So we have a ton of content to get caught up on.
There you go.
Thank you so much for joining us on Embrace the Grind.
Oh, one more thing before
let's
you
hear it.
stop.
Let's hear it.
I have been really enjoying your like mini vlogs on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I love that it's so real. Like I think that there's a lot of chip porn that people like get consumed with, and I think the vloggers had like kind of caught on to that. Like they shouldn't just post their winning sessions. I love how like just raw, like it's like you show your wins, you show your losses, and you show your feelings behind that. It's really that's I think the heart of it of like good content creation is like that raw truth, authenticity with your personality put on it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And it's something that I'm generally like a low key kind of person. Mm-hmm. So and that can come across on videos as me being like disinterested so I've always been trying to like more animated when I talk, but it's like, it's hard to be someone that you're not.
That's not you. Yeah.
So I'm always kind of just chill.
So I felt the same way as a girl, like especially in my 20s. I had to take a vocal coaching class because my voice was so monotone. They were like, well, you're only going to get hired as like the hot girl, and like they have to have a higher pitched voice. So I had to like learn how to like talk like this and like do like auditions and put a lot of color in my voice just to get hired. But I got so sick of it because it's not me. I was doing it to get roles, but it's like, when do I get to be more me?
Yeah.
And it was like, never unless you do it yourself. And then I felt way more embraced once I just was who I am online than being like this character.
Especially when you're doing a podcast. Like there's no possible way that you can record a podcast and not be who you are.
Exactly.
You can't talk for an hour and 20 minutes, an hour as like a character. I don't see how anybody could do that.
Yeah, you can, but I know people that do that, and it's exhausting for them.
Wow.
My friends have this huge like children's channel that they do. They're like, it's like a Power Rangers type of show, but they're them with their real names and their real husband and wife, but they're fighting hackers and like, doing like this Power Rangers type show, but the kids think it's real. So then they go and like have to be in character like everywhere they go. Like, and there's the bad guy lives at the Luxor. So there's all these kids that go to the Luxor trying to find them. And the couple times that they've been at the Luxor, they've gotten kicked out because all these kids like try to go in their hidden areas.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's wild.
Well, thanks again.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
We'll put all the links to all of Nikki.Limo and her husband's content in the description.
Yeah, we'll have Johnny on one of our podcast episodes soon.
Yeah,
So
maybe
I'll get to dig into his life.
Yeah. Degenerate gambler, former software developer, just the standard.
Software development. See, now I got to know.
All right, guys, embrace the grind. We'll talk to you on a future episode. Take care.